It's Black Music Month, and Artico is celebrating it with DJ Heat, HR Records, and DMV's own TC on sax. This is Artico. Welcome to the season finale of Artico. Let's get into it. DJ Heat is a Southeast DC native who has taken her love of music and fashioned a career worthy of mention.
My name is Nicole, but everybody knows me as DJ Heat, official DJ for the Washington Mystics, the Washington Wizards, and the DC Defenders. I'm a born and bred DC girl, born and raised in Southeast DC. So, we out in Southeast right now, right down the street from where I bought my first apartment. Feels good, feels great. Big music lover, been DJing for 30 years now, which is crazy. And you're probably thinking like, wait a minute, you don't look that old. I started DJ when I was 13 years old. So I knew that was my love. I fell in love with DJing when I was a kid, listening to DJs on the radio and hearing DJs on rap songs. So at 13 years old, I bought my first set of turntables, man. Some of my inspirations coming up as a DJ, of course, you gotta give love, for us as women, you gotta give love to Spinderella. Spinderella is dope. You got other legendary DJs like, Coco Chanel, Jazzy Joyce, other DJs I looked up to. DJ Lazy K was one of my favorite DJs coming up. She was a mixtape DJ, and I really, really love listening to her mixtapes. DJ Scratch is dope. Jam Master Jay, rest in peace. DJ Jazzy Jeff, who a lot of people don't realize how legendary Jazzy Jeff is. They think, he was Fresh Prince's DJ. They think he's on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Jazzy Jeff is a pioneer and super dope as well. The first time I put my hands on a turntable, oh my gosh, 13-year-old me, because, the summer, shout out to the DC Summer Youth Employment Program that's still going on. That's how I was able to buy my first set of turntables. I saved up every check from my Summer Youth Employment Program job, and I'm about to show my age. Back then we had to order stuff through catalogs and magazines, so I was an avid reader of the Source magazine, and they had this DJ company that was advertising in there that sold DJ equipment, and they had like a DJ starter package. I sent in my money order, had to wait, 6 to 8 weeks for them turntables to come in, and once they came in, I was like, oh my gosh, like I finally got it. What's crazy, I had already owned some records before I had the turntables. Like, I was telling my mom, like, yo, I'm going to be a DJ, like, please buy me this record. Like, I still remember the first piece of vinyl I ever owned. It was Mary J. Blige and KC, the Uptown Unplugged version. If loving you is all that I have to do. That, because I love that song. I was like, Mom, please buy me this record. She's like, you don't even got nothing to play it on. I'm like, I'm going to be a DJ though. Like, believe me, I'm going to be a DJ. And she bought me that record. So of course, that's going to be like the first record that I put on a turntable, because that's the only record that I owned at the time. My love for music, I could pinpoint when my love for music actually came into play, because it was like a love of hip hop music that made me appreciate music more. Like when I was in 6th grade, shout out to everybody that went to Fletcher Johnson in Southeast. And I remember coming to school one day and everybody was talking about like NWA and like Ice Cube and stuff like that. And I made the mistake of saying, who are they? Man, everybody started joning on me like, man, you don't know who NWA is? You don't know who the DOC is? And stuff like that. So I made it a mission to myself to go home and watch music videos, make sure I watch The Box, that was the popping station back then. Make sure I watch the videos on Yo MTV Raps, make sure I watch Rap City, all those different shows. And that's when I fell in love, like really, really fell in love with music, all because, so shout out to everybody in 6th grade that teased me for not knowing who like NWA and the DOC was, because that's really made me get like entrenched into music and watching music videos all day. So like, okay, I know who these people are. Like, oh my gosh, this music is great. To see how much music has impacted my life is it's unbelievable, because starting out, you start as a DJ and you just have visions of like, I'm going to DJ parties here, you know, I want my friends to think, you know, I'm cool. But to see how music has literally taken me around the world, like literally, like I just got back from Egypt from DJing. I've been to Japan, I've been to Australia, I've been to a number of different countries that I can't even think of off the break. Like I'm getting booked to go to different places to DJ. That's so amazing and life-changing, and for me the biggest thing is seeing like the joy that everybody has from music. Black music is music. Like when you trace all the different genres of music that are out there, you could trace it back to us. Like we are the foundation, and to see the growth and the acceptance as that. You know, with acceptance, yes, there comes imitation as well. But you know, when it comes to the black music, we're the ones that got that good old soul cooking. We're the originators of it. And like, man, you look at the charts, you look at other influences. You know, I gotta give love to DC. You know, and go-go culture with our music. That's the other cool thing about black music. Like in DC, we have our own culture with go-go. And you could go up the road to Baltimore with Baltimore Club. You could go further up to New Jersey Club. You could go down south where, you know, with the New Orleans bounce music. You know, it's so friggin' amazing. And even the dance cultures that come within black music is I get a kick out of that. You know, in DC, you know, we'll beat our feet, but you see people, the different juke dances of the Midwest, you see how the different styles of West Coast. So I'm like, as much as I love music, I think about that as well, you know, because with social media, you see all the different dances, like, wow, look how we dance here in DC, but wow, look how they're dancing in Chicago. Wow, look, what type of dancing are they doing in Detroit? Look at the style, look at the battles they doing on the West Coast. And again, it's just the big melting pot, the big stew that we are, man, with black music is crazy. And you know, always gotta give respect back to our African roots, because you can even trace it back to that, you know, with the tribal dances. That's what I see when I see us dancing as well. I'm like, it's our way to express ourselves, just like our ancestors and how they still do now in the culture in the different countries of Africa, expressing themselves through dance. I'm on this mission now, since sports is a big passion of mine. Like I'm blessed that, you know, I love sports, especially basketball. I'm not good at it, but I have the pleasure of mixing music and basketball, music, and sports together. So like the Mystics, how this season I helped to create an original song for the Mystics that plays during the season. Shout out to DC artist Benu Bird, who's on the track. I helped create a track for the Washington Wizards this past season with DJ Cool. I had him do a remake of Let Me Clear My Throat. Even some other production and beats that I collabed with a friend to get music played at the game. So that's the next step for me, you know, to keep growing in music and sports. You know, I tell people, there's a lot of money out here when you in the sports business, especially if you're creating original music when it comes to sports, because there's a big need for it right now. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be here to fulfill that need. You know, I'm learning my production. I'm in the house, you know, working on these beats. So a year from now, don't be surprised when, you know, underneath my name, not only see DJ, you're gonna see producer as well.
HR Records is a staple of the DC community. We caught up with the owner, Charvis, to talk music history and vinyl.
We're here with Charvis Campbell at HR Records. And Charvis, it goes without saying that you have like a love for music. So what is the genesis of HR Records and your love for music in a way?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for coming. I grew up in one of those households where music was always around, whether it was church or home. I vividly remember on Saturdays doing our chores and you know, the house was blamming with music. And so My first record collection I got from my brother, who inherited that from my mom's.
Okay.
And I still have some records with both of their names crossed out and me putting my name on it. And don't do that now, by the way. Don't write on your vinyl. But you know, for us, HR Records, you know, we're about community, and we started 5 years ago. In March, it's our 5th anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you. I need extra credit because of COVID, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you know, for me, it's more than just buying and selling records. It's really about preserving the music and really documenting some of the history of music, and also being able to share this music, you know, with people who love it as well.
So when someone hits like the threshold of HR Records, what should they expect when they walk in?
Sure.
Beautiful building?
You know, we typically have music playing, right? So we want to kind of create that ambiance of a music environment, and we have art on the wall, right? So one of the first things you're going to see is some beautiful art, depictions of music, pictures of artists, and record covers, right?
Yeah.
So record covers in itself, I think, are pieces of art.
Yes,
right?
no, for sure, for sure.
And I think the ability to view records and music as something that's you know, a connection to the spiritual realm, I think is also important.
So based on like customers coming in, is there like a particular style of music or genre of music people are kind of going towards when they're looking at vinyl?
Sure. So we focus specifically, or I would say heavily, on jazz and soul. Right?
Okay.
That's what we love. That's what we know. And in many ways, that's what comes in the door, right?
Okay.
So if we're doing this right, records are very kind of rare and finite pieces of material, right?
Yeah.
And they're commodities. And you know, there are only so many records of you know, Juju, Message from Mozambique, which is a rare record on Strata East. That was incidentally just recently re-released this past week for Record Store Day. So when these records are gone, it's really up to us to have new collections coming in. And so we get the community typically selling us records. People move, you know, they find records in their attic or in their basement or their garage. And then they bring them in, and you know, we give them I think a fair offer to clean up their music. Sometimes we have to press them, flatten them, but definitely clean them and put them in plastic and make them look pretty.
So do you go out in the community actually looking for records sometimes?
We do. Before I had kids, I was out probably too much, my wife would say. Kind of, you know, early on the Saturday mornings, I'll be out the house. We usually, or early on, got a lot of our records from kind of garage sales and kind of thrift sales. But now, at this kind of stage of the game, it really comes to us. Okay. We're able to acquire large collections of records. And when I say large, we're talking, you know, we acquired the most recent collection that was large was about 10,000 records that we acquired. So, you know, we're talking boxes and boxes and boxes, and you need storage and you know, the ability to take your time to review it and to make a fair offer.
So let's, you know, before I go on, when you get those 10,000 records, how do you decide what actually comes in the store for sale?
So it does take that time, right? So initially, it's what do we like, right?
Yeah.
So if we're buying 10,000 records, there better be some records that we love in there, right?
Yeah.
There's some records, hopefully, that are going to come home with me, or that we're going to be able to put on the wall and show off. In that case, those are the records that we initially take out first.
Okay.
And in some ways, if we're doing it right, you know, those few records are able to pay, not necessarily for that entire collection, but make it worth it, right? Because there's some records that I would argue are really rare and valuable, either from the fact that there are only a handful still left that are at that condition, or because they're worth so much money, only a certain, you know, level or interest of folks are going to be buying that record.
Okay. So as we're celebrating Black Music Month, right, and the DMV, but more so DC in a way, has like a rich music history, and some of the greatest songs and music has been produced by artists from here or
Sure.
Can you kind of explain to us or talk to us a little about that DC music?
Yeah, I mean, in so many ways, it's all through DC. You know, I remember at Howard in the late '80s and '90s, Go-Go, for instance, was blaring. You saw the kids on the street corners, and they're out, you know, with their cans and they're making noise. And you know, the reality is that Go-Go is really a DC, you know, really focused and centric sound, which is amazing. What I love when I go digging, if there's a record I don't know, for one, I pull it, but also two, if I see the cover and the cover's funky, I figure if they put that much energy into the cover and the art, that the music got to be funky too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, Funkadelic, you know it's got to be funky.
Yeah. All right.
So I love this album. Roy Ayers, Everybody Loves the Sunshine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you could just, that's one of the anthems of the summer for me, or just any day. And you know, Roy, I remember seeing him at Fort DuPont Park in Southeast, man. A free concert, it was beauty, dude. It was just, man, talk about music bringing back memories.
Yeah.
And just, you know, look at Roy having fun, man. Just, that's life, right? That's exactly
amazing.
Right. You know, we kind of talked about some of the iconic covers. You know, this is a Blue Note record, and so Blue Note, one of the most storied jazz record labels, but just the covers itself, they treated them like art, right? And so, you know, one of the founders had his camera, Alfred Lyon, and some of the most iconic jazz pictures he took himself. And are scattered throughout. So.
Question.
Yes.
So when we look at the discog, basically, what are all like the different letters on here mean?
So what we realize is that, you know, if we're gonna sell a record for $100, people want to know the condition.
Yeah.
They want to know how does it sound, and so really these are just grading notes. So cover, poor, fair, good. Okay. You don't want it poor, fair, good. You want it very good, new mint. That's what the NM sounds. And then the vinyl, right? So we grade the cover, and then we grade the vinyl itself separately from the cover. Because again, those are both price points which add to the total cost of the record. So there's some records we talked about that are worth hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Here's a record, for instance, this is an original stereo of Eric Dolphy, Out to Lunch.
Oh, wow.
One of the most iconic jazz albums. I mean, just look at that cover, man. I mean, it's just amazing. Our price, it's a lot lower because of the condition of the cover and the record. We grade the cover only G, which means it's good, which you ideally don't want, but it's so rare you want to have it no matter what. And then we grade the record only VG, which is very good. And again, ideally you want VG plus, because VG says it has some scratches, it's going to have some noise, which is okay. But again, if this was VG plus, we're talking $1,000.
Wow. Oh wow.
So a very stark.
What's the OG?
OG mean original.
Okay, original stereo.
Like OG Gangster.
I think this one early, this caught my eye, just because like I think this could be a cover from today, just with how she's dressed.
Sure.
You know.
So this is a 70s jazz, more soul album, which is really cool. But you're right. I mean, you know, it's interesting that you know, talking about women on album covers, some of the earlier jazz covers had all white women, and you know, just go back and look through the 50s and even the early 60s, there was a point where literally it's jazz women on the white covers. And it's like, what's going on here? And then, you know, at a certain point that I'm black and I'm proud, and even all that changed, or even, you know, kind of Blue Note putting the artist on the cover. You know, I mean, look at Coltrane. I mean, and you know, look how young he looks, and his intensity and his focus, right? So,
Not for sure, man.
And then, you know, talk about covers, right? So, you know, Alice Coltrane, Coltrane's wife, really one of the champions of that spiritual jazz movement, and just, you know, the cover itself and the name of the album, Reflection on Creation in Space. I mean, you know, if you can't get into that, I don't know what.
TC on sax is a local artist who has truly come into his own in the music industry. We spoke with TC and convinced him to share some of his music.
Here's a little bit about TC on sax. He grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. Started out, you know, as a typical young guy trying to figure out what to do. I was a single mom, raising me up by herself in different elementary school every year, moving around, because where mama went, I went. So that's that era. Moved out to Maryland in junior high. Went to John Hanson, got involved with some sports, ran track, played football at Oxon Hill Boys Club. Oh, I was a star. I got trophies for that, but you gotta look that one up. From there, we went to Friendly High School. And this was an interesting era in my life because you know, my mom, being a single mom, she had to figure out what to do with this kid that was growing up to be a man or a young man at that time. So what I did was audition for a play. I'll never forget it. I was like this goofy kid on stage in this play called Grease. I was Dodie, right? And my teacher at the time, Mr. Stringer, you know, said, hey, this guy's got some talent. But at the same time, my mom was trying to figure out why is he getting in so much trouble. So it was a little weird. So she transferred me from there. We moved back into DC, and I went to audition for Duke Ellington School of the Arts up in Northwest. And that's a really cool space, that building, because at the time when I was going to Duke Ellington, it didn't have like the beautiful auditorium and things of that nature, you know, and it was basically the urban DC version of Fame, you know, because back when I was coming up, Fame was like one of the popular shows that was a little older, but it was popular still. So I auditioned to go to Duke Ellington, and it was a weird time in my life because at that point, having been in the play at Friendly, and I actually did another play at Shade School Open Space where I had a cool speaking part, and I was singing like, bills, bills, bills. Anyways, we're not gonna go through that. Auditioned at Duke Ellington. It was a funny story because, and when you go to Duke Ellington to audition, it's like a whole 8-hour day just for the audition. You gotta go in this line, get in that line, get in all the lines. So I got in all the lines, and it was time for me to go and pick the department at Ellington that I wanted to be in, because they concentrate on all the realms of art, from painting to photography to music to theater and all these things. Well, anyways, I had prepared this cool poem by Langston Hughes, right? And I said, I want to go and I want to be in the theater department at Duke Ellington. By the time you get to the space where you're actually in front of the crew of teachers and counselors to allow you into your department that you're auditioning for, it's at the end of the day. And I was at the end of the day, and this lady was behind the piano. She said, okay, what have you prepared for me? And I said, I'm gonna do I Too Eat in the Kitchen by Langston Hughes. She said, Thomas, you are in the music department. I said, oh, I wanted to be in the theater department. She said, well, you'd have to start over, and I'm afraid you're gonna have to come back another day and start all over the process. You have time to come another day. I didn't have time because I caught the bus. I caught the 32 all the way up there. Anyways, long story short, she said, well, do you know how to sing? I said, I can carry a tune. So she started playing the Star Spangled Banner. And by the time I got to Oh Say Can You See, she stopped, you're in. So that was my audition piece. I had a great, 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 great set of friends that I became friends with at Duke Ellington. We all supported each other. And my best friend at the time was a masterful keyboard player. His name was Keith Lee. And by the time we got to our junior and senior year, Keith and I ended up representing what I'm gonna call the building funds of Duke Ellington as you see it right now. Because during Black History Month, we would find ourselves at Department of Energy and all these other spaces performing, you know, at their programs We would also take the time out to audition for competitions throughout the city. And I got the first inkling that I had something magical when I won like this DC talent search, where the last show was at the Constitution Hall, and I got the top trophy. They say, the winner, TC, Thomas Clark. And it was a weird feeling, but I have to thank, all of the, the people and the friends who've inspired me throughout my school years. Noble Jolly taught me, the late Noble Jolly taught me theory. He made me sit down and figure out what FAC is and what EF, every good boy does fine. He made me figure all these things out, and I had to do it in such a way to where I can only get better, The first time I picked up a sax was at church, right? So between picking up the sax and playing, behind the mass choir, you can hide your notes behind the mass choir because, black churches got all great voices. So I just blended into the ones that wasn't so great. And eventually I became great, just like the greatest voices in the church. And that's where I learned my feel, my technique, my tone, and how to express at church. And from there, again, my love for music just kept growing and growing and growing. And here I am now, right? Because when I play for people, I often build off of their energy, right? So when I'm playing the melodies of life, that's exactly what it is. I'm playing the melodies of life. And sometimes I'll never play something the same way. I don't think I can, actually. I'm always inflecting and bending and moving based on, again, all of my experience in life and all of the things that I can read in your eyes and your body language when I'm playing in front of you. And that energy transfers into what you're hearing. So music is definitely a language of its own, but it's a unified language. Everybody who understands, listens, and likes music has a favorite song. And 9 out of 10, that song that they like relates to them as a person. So all I do is try to relate to people through the melodies that I play. That's it.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, always remember to follow your art.